Focus. Fly. Keep growing. What is going on, car guys and car gals? Welcome to the Car Guy Coffee Podcast. I'm Lou Ramirez, the car guy.
And I'm Fredlin Arts, the subprime hero.
And we are Fluid Solutions live at Digital Dealer 2021 in Las Vegas. And we have some special guests up inside of the stage.
That we have the best seats in the whole building right now with these two ladies sitting next to us. So excited to have you here. I've had the opportunity to meet you all on social media and in person, and now that we have you all in person, it means so much to us. I'm really starstruck a little bit, honestly. I know it sounds weird, but really meeting you all, it really feels really surreal to me. So it's amazing to have you here. I really am honored to have you here with us in the cafe today. These are some superstars. Major superstars out there making a change, showing people out there that women of color can do amazing things. And not only can they do amazing things, but they could probably do it better than you. Just saying. But you know, I have a mother that's a woman of color, in my opinion. She's a Korean woman, and just I'm so blessed to have culture in my life. And I always believe that it's a thing inside me that I feel very proud to have. So to be around women like you all who go through different struggles than any other women in the world go through. I can't even understand them. I can't even fathom them. But to be as powerful and as upfront and as forthcoming as you have been with what you guys feel and how you guys are, it just means a lot to us that you're here. And I love what you're doing, and I love the movement that you're trying to bring out there. And we just want to help as much as we can. So thank you for having us.
Thank you for sharing your stage. Like it helps us, because when you put yourself out there in this industry, like you just want to blend in, right? But when you're talking about women of color, you're not blending in. You're actually like standing out. So you guys giving us a stage makes it so much easier.
Well, no, our microphone's your microphone.
Right. Anytime you want.
Stage.
Anytime. And it means a lot to us. You coming to our stage is a blessing. It means a lot to our heart. It feels great to have you here. This is something that we would have been wanting to do. Lou and I have been talking about this for a long time. So
y'all see how hard it is, right? This isn't the most logistically easy thing to accomplish at these events.
And at a conference, right?
I was surprised. Lou told me that this was happening. I was like, are you kidding me? Let's make this happen. Great. So I know we've been talking about it, so it's great to be doing it. So thank you again. So ladies, I know so far, you know, we've seen a lot of amazing things. We've seen some amazing speeches. I've seen Sandy moderate something today. I saw you on stage with her, and wow, was that outstanding and stellar. It was just so great to talk about diversity inside this industry right now. And it's a major problem. It's always been a major problem. It's not just in our industry, it's in the world. But, you know, obviously we are in this industry. We need to talk about it. We need to make a change and make a movement happen. So, you know.
You know how I know we're in Vegas? Because that talk was yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah. That's right, it was yesterday.
I didn't want to correct you,
but yeah.
Did he say today?
He did say today.
Oh, okay.
Did I didn't think I did.
You're like,
We've been getting
but it's
serious,
Vegas.
folks. We
It
haven't
feels
had
like the
enough
same
coffee
day.
either.
Feels like the same day. But it's been an amazing time to watch them do what they do. It's been great. You know, I've been following. Let's start with Mabel. Now, I've been following Mabel for a long time on social media. You want to talk about somebody who pours her heart out and lets people see who her true colors are. And it's an amazing thing, and it's a beautiful thing to see.
Thank you.
You know, you have a lot of heart, you have a lot of bravery out there, and it inspires people. It inspires me. It lets me know that I could be me too, right? So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. I'm all for being your authentic self.
Yes.
No doubt.
Especially in this industry, there's a lot of people that hide behind smoke and mirrors, and that genuine feeling gets lost a lot of times. And we're so into the flossing on the social and doing this and doing that we forget to be humans. So every so often I got to remind everyone I am a human being, and I do have feelings, and I do go through the hardships.
Mm-hmm.
And then being a woman in automotive that's a woman of color, I always tell people I have 3 strikes against me. So I work in the automotive field. I'm Latina, and I'm Latina of color. It's just like, oh my God. So every day you do have these, not chips, but you have these slight boulders on your shoulder.
So there ain't no chips. That's
They're
a
not
chip.
chips, but and then you have to navigate through life, and then you also have to navigate your personal life, which is not easy doing all that. And you also have to be there for others. So I like to always, I tell women all the time, you can DM me, you can text me. I'm not a lot. I would say I don't have a lot to bring to the table, but I have an ear and I can listen to you. Reason being is that when I started in this industry, I didn't see anyone that was relatable to me.
Wow.
There was no one that had my skin tone. There was no one that had my cultural, decision making. And that plays a huge part into who I am today. So, if it wasn't for WOCAN, I would be like, whatever. I'm just a woman in automotive. But to see a group of women that I could relate to, and then I could also help them and empower them is amazing. So, the last year has been definitely eye-opening.
What I love most
Yes.
about watching the relationship you all have together is the honor you have.
Oh,
Out of your way, crazy inconvenience yourself to honor, and you do it with joy, you do it with passion, and you do it like sisters, like real sisters.
100% they do.
I absolutely love
It's
that.
beautiful.
That's a standard that the industry needs to see. I believe that what we're trying to do in showing brothers, two guys that absolutely love each other and want to see great things happen
love coffee.
for each other's family, right? That
I
love
love coffee.
coffee,
That's good.
find common ground, also want to see the best of each other without being each other.
Wait, was that
Yes.
a pun? Common ground?
Gotcha.
Oh my God, that's so on it. Coffee correlation.
Yeah.
She's on it. That is like one of our
Why?
favorite
It's 'cause
things.
I love coffee so much.
That's right.
So.
Come on.
It just hit, she hit that like it was like she'd been doing that for a long time. One thing you said, and I just want to point this out. You said that you don't bring a lot of value. You can just give them an ear. Well, I'm gonna tell you something. That is beyond value.
Thank
Yes.
you for
That is
correcting
probably
that.
the most
Yep.
important thing you can do for anyone is to listen.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you for saying that, but you need to give yourself more credit. You're an amazing person.
And we underestimate ourselves as women,
Yes.
as women of color, all the
All
time.
the
And I was
time.
going to correct her, but I didn't want to jump in too aggressively there.
No,
shows.
but
But
you're
the
right.
reality is, I've done a lot for women in the industry, a lot of which people don't hear about because I don't post everything on social and I don't
Right.
share every time I'm helping someone. But even I do the same thing.
Yeah.
We're all kind of discount, I'm just Kerri. You know what I mean? I'm not like a celebrity or something. I'll discount myself.
Yeah.
And you don't realize your power all the time, even when you've been successful,
Yeah.
It's a bad habit.
It is.
And
For all of us.
being here at this conference, and thank you so much.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for you, I would not be here.
Oh,
So thank you.
Thank you, Kerri.
Yeah.
WOCAN. Thank you, WOCAN.
Yeah, thank
WOCAN.
you.
Let's go,
WOCAN.
WOCAN.
We are a nonprofit. We
Yeah,
take donations.
I've walked the halls and
Yes.
I've walked, and everyone's like, Mabel, and I'm like, oh, you're talking to me. Like, I actually point to me, like, it's real. Oh, you want to talk to me? And I've had women like, I followed you for so, and men too. Like, I followed you for so long, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, really? Okay. And it's eye opening.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is very because a lot of people follow and they don't share. That's okay, and it's
Yeah.
if they're following and you're supporting and you're actually helping people without them knowing it and without you knowing, I should say, and that's fine. That's what we do. I think the post that you put out there, I think subliminally you know that you're helping somebody.
Yeah, my goal is if I can help just one person,
That's it.
that's all it takes. Because I know when I started, I was always looking for that outlet to see if there was anyone that was going through my hardships, and it took me at least almost 2-3 years to finally find my tribe,
Yeah.
right, and really get to the nitty gritty as to why I'm in this industry and why I chose this profession. But it took me a while, and I don't want women to go through that.
Right,
And
right.
there's a lot of hardships for us.
And
And there's so many parallels though.
Mhm.
Like with Mabel's challenges with alopecia, and she's been speaking out about that.
Oh yeah, she's
But
very
when
vocal
you think
about it. I love
women
that.
of color, and I'm
Yeah.
just going
Love
to say black women in
Yeah.
general, hair is a big
huge thing.
big deal.
Oh,
Something
yeah.
that you are not going to hear at any other women's conference really is like the conversation of hair. And for me, I would not wear my hair naturally, at all, right, in automotive. And I really thought about when I'm giving a keynote at NADA or whatever, I'm already very black woman to them. I don't want to come with my cornrows necessarily and be even more
Though they would
black
probably
woman
look
for them.
amazing.
And those are thoughts that maybe those aren't real fears, but I have to think about that.
I totally get that.
Other women don't think about. And so
Yeah.
in the pandemic, I wore braids because I was on Zoom and I was at home. I actually got my hair braided for the
I
first
remember
time
you
in
looked amazing.
20 years.
Yeah, I remember.
And I literally had to like, when I posted the picture, I was like, oh, I'm about to wear braids in automotive. Like, think about that, how stupid that is.
Yeah, that
Right.
That I had to think about. But there is real bias against that.
100%.
And people think certain hairstyles are unprofessional, and they tend to be hairstyles that Black people have.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a shame.
I shaved my head, what was it, 2 months ago, completely, went to work with a bald head. And I was so scared because I didn't know how my dealership was going to take it. I didn't know how my coworkers were going to take it. And I didn't know how my customers were going to take it. But I did it because I'm like, I know there are women of color out there that are going through this. And I'm going to rock my bald head. I don't care. And I had to give myself a pep talk, and I posted it on LinkedIn prior, thinking no one's gonna look at it. I got over almost 300,000 likes and views, over 1,800 comments. I was shocked. My mentors from Volvo and things like that, everyone's like, "We're so proud of you," and I'm like, "It's just hair," but it means so much. And I walked into work with my bald head, and I felt amazing. And I had women tell me, like, I didn't know you wore a wig, or, oh my God, you're so open about it. And I'm like, yeah. And even now, like, I would take it off, but I haven't shaved it. But
I hear you.
and I thought about it. I'm like, why not? Why not embrace my natural self? And if I can help women go through that, because Black women, let's keep it real. Our edges are, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, these are things that we think about, and I grew up with a mother that every Friday had a standing hair appointment because you needed straight hair.
Right.
So it's a big, and now you're a professional. So professionalism in my culture means straight hair. And now I'm just like, I'm bald, curly, whatever. It don't matter.
Well, this is something that I want to just tie in there because it's so big. Everybody that's watching, that's listening, that's going to hear this later. She and you are completely determined that this isn't going to limit you anymore.
Yeah.
And because you didn't let this limit you anymore, now that's empowering all these other people, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that feel empowered by your yes to you. Not to anything else, not to any status quo, not to any stigma, but the yes to you. That's a lot of times the thing that we have to get past the most is the yes to us, the yes to our dreams, the yes to how we want to make our hair, right? And of course, the more versatile your hair, the more options you got.
Right.
You know what I mean? The more things you can do. And that's something that we're constantly doing, right? We're constantly trying to change the way that we maybe make ourselves expressed in either our clothes or whatever. And we're trying to do the best that we can in the industry, right? To try to make it as, hey, relax, be you. But there is that professionalism that has to come through, right?
Yeah.
There is that maybe that little extra we got to do, right? We're not always rocking the jackets. Y'all know that. We're in the hoodies, we're in the hats, right? But you saying yes to you expressing you gives that room to everybody else. And as we pivot this a little bit, I want to shift this because you jumped into a moderator spot, Sandy. You're up there on stage. She did it like she did it a million times.
I didn't know it was her first time.
She was like Barbara Walters.
She was.
Guess what?
You know what's hilarious?
She
She even did like the lean in.
I mean, seriously, like, she had her leg crossed.
She did the glasses.
She was looking all like
Where are the glasses
leg
at?
crossed.
She
She had her little note card. She was all like
but she did the
glasses up
lean
when
in.
she
Like,
left.
she asked a hard question. She's like, so how do you really feel?
It was awesome, Sandy. It was amazing. And it was so great. And you were put at the right spot at the right time to be there for that moment. And those moments were just beautiful and just needed to be talked about and heard. And the panel that was up there was just like, oh, fire. This is amazing. And I learned so much that day myself, just like you mentioned. I love how you were so forthcoming when you said, I've never knew that. I didn't understand that. That's so crazy. And most of us don't know the struggles, what they've been through, anybody of color. You know, a lot of us don't have any idea what kind of challenges they have, and to hear what they have to say and to be able to moderate that and do it in such class. I was like so jealous. Like right now, I feel like you should be sitting here doing this while I sit there and get
Thank
questions.
you so much. It was really an honor and such a privilege.
Yes.
Beyond being the biggest pleasure.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
To be able to be there with those four industry leaders in particular.
Absolutely.
Right, with Kerri, who, you know, I got to say, Kerri was talking about, you know, helping others. Me, I'm right here. Kerri's like such an example of sponsorship, right? Like how you, once you trust somebody, you know, and how you talk about them when they're not in the room,
Yeah.
you know, how a promoter really, right? So, and the other thing that I want to say is I am not a woman of color.
You are.
Right? I'm
You are.
Listen, you are invited to the cookout.
Yes, you are invited to the cookout.
Did you all hear?
You are invited to the cookout.
Well, one
love
of the
that.
things is I'm sitting here listening, right? And I'm happy to not take up the space, so I'm not going to talk for long.
No,
White women
Stop
are taking
it.
up space.
Stop it.
You are.
You are here.
I know.
You're at the table.
Man, girl.
We invited you to the table.
Yeah,
You're here.
you're here.
You have
Center stage.
You were on
She's center
the
stage.
Keynote stage.
And I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway,
Yeah.
so
You were literally on that stage,
I was on that
Killing it.
stage, right?
Yeah.
And well, that's what we were
directing
talking
them
about.
to
Yes,
speak.
yes.
You know, the thing that I think that I did not realize was when Damon said that it wasn't until 1968,
1968, folks.
1968 that blacks and African Americans could be a dealer.
Yeah, that was mind blowing.
I was born in 1967. It is what it is. 19, right? So yesterday, by the way. So
Yes. Happy belated birthday.
That's
Happy
right.
birthday.
we're having cake somewhere tonight,
Yes.
right? We need to do
We
that.
are
Anyway.
having cake. I have her cake.
But when you were talking, what I was thinking about was like you were talking about the intersection, right?
Yeah.
Your intersection, the three that you talked about are Latina,
Yep.
Black. You know, it's amazing. And that's the intersection that I don't stand in, right? But I have to recognize that.
Well,
right?
I'll tell you right
and
now.
just because you're a woman
The
doesn't
way
mean
you said Latina, you are definitely not only going to the cookout, she's going to the
I
carne
know.
asada parade.
Come on,
everything.
come
All right.
No, they call it. He said, Rosario, Rossi. If you're watching, one of my friends was like on my timeline yesterday, put to the original Gringa Latina.
Oh, that's
You
awesome.
roll your R's. That's
It's
it.
so funny.
I
You're a
think
winner if you can roll the R's.
I think
You are
Sandy
underrated.
is an example of what an ally could be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and
Amen.
I think part of it is that she doesn't take offense to anything I share with her about my experience. I think that's
Right.
the hard part. Is like you don't want to be the person that's always complaining about the automotive industry, about want it to be better. So in order to be
Right.
better, you got to be a little critical and dissect what's wrong. And I think sometimes you share your experience with somebody who's like a man or a white person, and they're very defensive, or
Yeah.
they try to convince you, you know what? I think you might not like. You might be making up some things here.
Or they
And I
say
think-
that phrase.
You know what?
I don't see color.
I don't see
Uh-huh.
color.
Don't ever
There's-
say that.
There's
Yeah.
overcompensating, right?
You know what I want would be
Noted.
a great example. You
You
talked
guys heard
about
that?
Yeah, don't say that.
Don't ever
say
say
that.
that. That is so
And
not
don't ever
great.
in
say
fact, see me.
See
and
that.
actually, I want you to see when I'm not there. Like that's
Right.
really like the problem. I think
we need to flip it on
WOCAN,
its
exactly,
head.
flip it on its head because
Mm.
WOCAN,
Wow.
when we launched WOCAN, I mentioned on the stage, like I got more hate mail probably in the last year than like the last 22 years. I'm talking about like emails, nasty social posts. And my thing is like, stop asking why we have WOCAN and instead ask why the dealership staff page is all men or all
Yeah.
one race. Ask why the boards of NADA or other groups look the same. Like we should be more offended by not seeing diversity
Yeah, exactly.
than seeing a little small group like WOCAN getting together.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
my
if
God.
you want an example
So true.
of we're pausing for a picture. Alex,
Hey, Flo.
What's up, hey Flo? Love you,
Hey,
brother.
Flo. Jump in the scene back here. Say what's up to everybody.
Yeah, photo bomb.
with what you were sharing, Kerri, about your hair and the braids, right? Go to Google, look up unprofessional female
Oh, yeah.
hairstyles. Go to the
Immediately.
images and tell me what you see.
You will see
Wow.
all black women in there.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead and do it. And then look at
Lou's gonna
professional page.
Yeah.
And you'll see all white women, right?
Yes.
So it is a thing. And when I work with women, I'm a little bit between telling them they bold themselves, also the real.
Come
The
on.
reality, not all of us can
Have
The
it.
people give from, right? And here's an example. Like you guys are like chill and you wear tennis shoes and you do, you know what I mean? Like you
They're
cut it
cool.
up and carry on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kerri,
I
for saying that.
Thank you so
She just
much.
You
said
are.
we're
I'm a
cool.
non,
You
but
are
that's from a
cool.
non-cool person.
However, here's
That's a lot of
So how
weight.
far should I take that?
She
I
doesn't.
take it with
she
amazing.
really. But
Absolutely.
wait, here's the thing. Like it would be more of a challenge for me or either one of the two wonderful women sitting next to me to do that. Like
We'd
because you
never-
have privilege.
I never feel like I could get away with like the
on the stage last night.
Yeah.
You know.
Tattoos. You know, it's.
Right.
And the thing is that we get to a
But I
spot
do
where-
understand I have it. You know, and I get that, and it's I do get that.
I'm going to interrupt one more
Yeah.
time. I'm so sorry.
Bring
Because
it.
you know what it is about privilege that I learned is that I have to love my privileges so much because they're wonderful. But I got to love them so much that I want them for everybody else. Right? I want everybody else
You
to
write
have.
that
Listen,
somewhere?
listen, amen. Okay,
Yes.
because here's the thing. When we talk about privilege, because there's so much offense to that, like, I don't have privilege. I worked hard my whole life. I got
No.
to where I am because of that. Right? I don't know why I have to use that voice when I do that.
But that's
For some reason,
But
that's
that's
what
the
I
voice.
hear. Like,
I
that's the
did
voice,
like that.
right? It's like I worked hard. And it's like the word privilege scares people because it's like you're taking something away from them. Like I worked hard. But the reality is like I like to bring up my own privilege, right? My parents were born in the deep South, very poor. My dad in the 60s, like served this country and had to still sit at the back of the bus, right?
Right.
So that was my parents, but they moved to California, and I was born in Silicon Valley. And I had a
Right.
great education, and I had opportunities that most Black women in the whole country don't have.
Wow.
So I understand my own privilege, even as a Black woman.
Right.
And there is no way that I'm going to keep that to myself.
Come on.
I have to speak to the girl that was raised in Chicago in the projects because she doesn't have the voice that I have.
No.
She didn't get that education, and so someone has to speak up for her. And so I like use
Yes.
your privilege to help other people. It's not going to take anything away from you.
Come on. Come on.
But you know what? That girl
about
in
to get
Chicago.
mad.
Bring it.
But that girl in Chicago is probably looking at you because I grew up in a very urban setting where going to college was like, oh, you're one of those smart people, right? So maybe that girl in Chicago is looking at you like, man, if she could do it, I could do it.
Come on.
You know, and it's
100%.
going to push her to actually do it and not listen to the naysayers, not listen to the people that, and probably her own family, that are telling her you can't do it because you're inspiring her to do it.
Talk about your own family. Like that's the other thing as a person of color is that you're oftentimes the very first in your family. And that's just like hard to grapple with. Think about it. Like when we think about WOCAN, we have Asian women, Latinas, Black women, Native American. Okay. And someone asked me like, what do you have in common? You guys don't even hang out with each other in real life, right? Like the races, right? And so here's what we have in common. We're the first in our family to be Americans sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like our parents were immigrants. We came over.
I'm the first Dominican American in my
There you go,
family, yeah.
right?
Wow.
We're the first to be middle class. That's me. My parents were not middle class. I'm the first middle class. First to be college educated, my siblings. So when you're the first, you're learning not from your family because your family is doing their best to teach you. My parents didn't have college degrees. They couldn't teach me how to navigate getting a college degree. So you're learning. I learned from my white coworkers, right? Like about stock and things like that your parents can't teach you.
Yeah.
And sometimes your parents can even give you bad advice because
Yeah.
they didn't know, they didn't
Or
have that.
because if they're not immigrants, but if you're the first generation, that means that your parents are in this country, like my mom was, like kind of always on the border, like, don't do that. Don't call attention to yourself.
Yes,
Because
don't
at the
take
end of the day,
risks.
we're Dominican and we're going to look at us differently. But one thing that she was very strict on was weekends were only Spanish. Because she's like, I don't care what you do
I
in
love
life.
that.
You have to learn your language. You have to learn your culture.
Yeah.
And
love
you
that.
will be bilingual or trilingual. You have to. So Saturday mornings from 10 a.m. till Sunday night, Siempre Domingo is on with your show. It was only Spanish music, TV, magazines,
No
cartoons.
sábado
everything.
gigante.
Well, Sábado Gigante
Look at
también.
her.
Yeah.
Once again,
She's a woman of
okay.
color. Come on.
She had
Stop.
to throw it in there. She's like, hola.
She may just not know it.
Hello.
But,
She need to get a DNA test.
Sorry,
done, you know?
I'm derailing
no,
this.
but no, it was so important for my mom. And she's like, you are the first one that was born and raised here. You're the first one that's going to college. There is no, I did not want to go to college. And she's like, no, if you want to live for the rest of your life, you need a degree. I got my degree. And she's like, yeah, that's cute. You need another degree. And I'm like, another one? And I was en route to get my third. And I said, I can't be getting a master's. I need to work. But I worked full time. I went to school full time. And it was instilled. And she was just like, I want you to do this because one day there is going to be someone that's going to look at you and be like, oh, snap. If she did it, I could do it too. And
Right.
that person probably will have more.
I love
than
your
what
mama.
you came through. And I'm like, yeah, I guess. And I never thought about it until I started working in automotive. I'm like, oh, these are all the skills that my mother put into me. And now and it works out. Like when I meet customers and they speak Spanish, I'm like, oh, como tal, you know, whatever.
Kill it.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things I love about the Latin culture is the and other cultures too keep their language. Growing up, I did not. My father does not speak Italian. My grandmother
no parlo
did.
italiano, parlo italiano. ¿Cómo
No,
stai?
no parlo italiano.
Mi chiamo Mabel.
Masters.
So I do not speak Italian.
There's more.
I do not speak
But-
Italian, but it was lost. It was
Yeah.
lost because when my grandparents came to this country, they
Yeah.
did
I know
not
exactly.
want
Yep.
their children to experience, because Italians were the last group to
Right.
actually join white people, to be
Yep.
put into
Right.
Caucasian.
Category.
That's
That's
why-
why-
And I'm not saying but you know, I'm the parent of a child of color, right? Non-binary. She is amazing, y'all. Look her up, Ariana Gonzalez. She's
Gorgeous.
kicking my butt
Yeah.
on social media, doing her little.
Well, yeah, she is. I'm sorry. She is.
Anyway, she's pretty amazing. But you know, she has a different experience in the world than I do.
Right.
You know, and I have to recognize that. And one thing I do, like in talking with some of my white friends, and I would, you know, just explain one of her experiences of being followed around in a store. And the response was, I'm sorry that happened to your child. Right. And I'm like, we need to be sorry that happened to every child, not just
any
me.
child.
That's why proximity, I think, is so important. Because
Yes.
like what Kerri says, I remember one of the first times I heard you talk, you know, draw a little circle.
Take your 10
you're in the
closest
middle.
friends.
Yep.
And tell me what race they are. Tell me what gender they are, what religion they are, what their sexuality is, like political status. Go on and on and on, and you will discover what your bias is probably.
Zero
in that
it in.
exercise.
Yep.
Right. And I'm talking your 10 closest friends. Don't count your family members. And that does,
And not people you work with.
and not
They're
people you
not
work with, and but the people you chose, right? Like, and once you discover your bias, that's okay. It's not like you should feel like bad, but it makes you aware of it. And even when I'm hiring, I'm very aware of my bias because I prefer to hire people that are exactly like me. I mean, like
don't come to you if you're
personality-wise,
introvert.
I have a bias against introverts. I'm just gonna put it out there right now. If
Well,
you
as
are
a-
an
Break you out of
introvert,
the
As an introvert.
she is an introvert, and I understand her, and I actually have to work through it because introverts, to me,
That's all.
they scream standoffish. Oh, you don't want to say hi to me? Oh, you don't want to give me a
No,
hug? Like,
and
these are the
meanwhile,
messages. That's
inside
not
our head, we're like, oh my god. But you know, as an introvert extrovert, it's taken me years to even talk to people. If I was in my old ways, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be like, no, you don't want to talk to me. I'll be hiding under the table, like so. But
You know, you are so different in person than
Yeah.
in social media.
But what I was using that to show is bias, right? So when I'm interviewing people and they're an introvert, if I'm not aware of that, I'm going to pass on an introvert. And you know why? Because they're not engaging me like I engage as an extreme extrovert. And what I have found is when I work through that, I've hired some introverts, particularly in jobs like they don't like graphics designers, things like that. They're some of the most amazing. They actually get their work done better because they don't talk so much.
yeah, because we don't want to be bothered.
You know,
Isn't
so
that
true.
the whole point, though, of having diversity of thought,
Yes.
diversity? You know, it's the whole point.
approach.
Yeah.
But you know, we
Everything.
need extroverts.
Innovation is
Introverts
born
need
in
extroverts.
diversity.
It helps
Both.
us. It helps us be, and it shows us that we can be extroverted in our own bubble with our own boundaries, and it's okay.
It's
Right.
okay, and that's why you need a diverse team, and that's
Yeah,
why
you do.
the car dealerships. Listen, we have taken over this interview, and let me just
I know,
pause
right? They're
for a
just sitting there.
second.
These poor guys.
Like, you guys
I'm right now being
Wow.
schooled and educated, and I'm
Do you guys
actually.
want coffee?
do you want to
Yeah,
ask?
yeah. Hold on,
Let me
I
take
want
a
you to know these are props.
This is
You're-
not empty.
You are
It's not empty.
caffeinating us right now. I don't need any coffee because you guys are really just
Wow.
opening my eyes, bringing energy that I just absolutely love. You know,
Speaking of
speaking
energy,
truth, speaking honesty, speaking everything that you're speaking right now. Just, you know, I didn't want to interrupt. You know, it's not my place. Just like you mentioned earlier, it's time for me to listen. It's time for all us men out there to listen. You know, we have to listen to what these women,
That's what
especially
God
women
does.
of color, do.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I'm going to take over this interview. Joking. I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes.
Like, what do you think in the automotive industry or retail, like, prevents leaders from pushing diversity or wanting more of it? Like, and I know you can't speak for the whole industry, but like from your stance, like, what do you think the fear is?
Okay, so to tie it in, it's usually the same thing as what gets caught up in all of it. It's the fear of what they don't know. So when you're so motivated to break the mold, right, and change up what it is that you're doing, like you're going to be the first to do what you do of our families, right? All these immigrants are here, the first to believe, the first to set out, the first to go do it. We're breaking the mold, but we still got to do it in a way that doesn't make us break the bridges we're trying to build, right? So I think that generally it's fear. We always fear what we don't know. We're always scared of that. But because we often are afraid of what we don't about ourselves, right? We don't embrace that enough. That's why I'm so big on you break the box for yourself. It shows everybody else, I don't need to be in this. This doesn't exist. This isn't for me. This isn't mine, right? I don't belong here. And that becomes the mold breaker for everybody, right? I don't belong in a place where I can't be me. But there is that dance between the raindrops, right? There is that I gotta maybe flow with it. It's not because there's something wrong with me, but there's something wrong with them that I can't let prevent me from being me. Because if I do that, then I don't give them space to be themselves, right? And like I was saying, we were talking about that the other day of how important it is that we are who it is that we are, right? So if you're a man of faith, if you're not a person of faith, if you're a person that believes that what it is that you're doing is the best thing for your family and for you, then it's so important that you commit to that. But you also understand that you're in a community, and the community means there's everybody. And that's why we need people with their voices trumpeted up. See, we're going to talk about the first that were you all, that were us, right? I don't see too many Asian fusion, Latin, you know what I mean? Latin Asian fusion actions going on, right? Everybody loves, you know what I mean? Like a Korean barbecue taco, right?
That sounds so good right now.
That does sound good.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
Really
Good.
does.
Right?
But and that's the flow. But that's why we make the correlation to coffee, because there is a heat that gets turned on us that gets us roasted. It takes us to the levels that we are, right?
I see what you
It
did
takes
there.
us to the darker roast. But there's something. See, we just released this dark roast at carguycoffee.com. You can get you some. But
We should have co-sponsored that with WOCAN, the dark roast.
Oh, yes. Why not? Yes.
Co-branded. Let's talk after.
so yeah, let's do that.
Have
But
your
see,
people call.
here's the thing about the dark roast, and this is
That's so funny.
This
I
is
love
something
it.
that is blowing my mind even as I hear you all speak. And I love it. I love that you flow with the coffee correlations. It's awesome. The dark roast, I couldn't get it as as a single origin roast. It couldn't all come from one batch. Because when you get a dark roast, it has to be a mix of beans, because when you push a bean to its certain level, you can compromise its integrity. So not enough of them make it from one batch. So you got to collect a bunch of them. So it takes a bunch coming together. And I love that. We're better together. Okay. So all of that coming together, being picked out, the best of the best, brings you that blend that then becomes something that only is something of value when the heat gets turned onto it and time is applied. What you're doing now is allowing the heat to get turned on, those that it may get a little uncomfortable when you speak what you speak, right? It may get a little uncomfortable, and my sister will even lay out a little bit of a caveat to make sure we're not hurting people's feelings. Because just because we're saying,
Right.
She does.
You got to
yeah.
give them the context.
No,
for
she
that.
does.
Yes.
so
Totally understand.
look, we're not saying that anybody is stopping us from doing anything, and we're inclusive of everybody. The thing is that there's more people in the room and are making their way in the room, and we're going to make that more regular. But it doesn't negate the fact that we love all of our brothers and sisters. Everybody's all around. Sometimes you got to say that. Sometimes you got to put that out there, right?
Little disclaimer. Yeah.
Well, it disarms anybody who's going to be defensive.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think yesterday on the stage, that's what I said. I've been mentored primarily by white men. There's been a few women in there, but like primarily by white men. So there's been some really good ones, you know,
really
that
great
are out
ones.
there, and you have to acknowledge that.
Right.
So you did good. You were on the right side of history, as I like to say.
I love that.
I mean, when I was your session, you employ almost the same you talked about meeting the customers where they are, right? And it's almost like the same strategy that you do. And we do have to meet people where they are, so that there begins to create that safe space that we were also talking about.
Yes.
It's like this good, bad binary, right? When we're talking about any ism.
Yeah, and we face that with women, right?
Yes,
Me and her talk about that a lot. And she's an outlet for me in talking about when WOCAN launched, we had a lot of hate mail from white women. Like, it was actually a surprise to me.
Wow.
And like,
I picked up my bad. I was
and
like,
it's hurtful to me. I mean, in all honesty, and it's like, I've had to really work through that, because I felt like I was carrying the flag for women in general for many years. And so when I launched WOCAN, I just thought all of them were going to jump on and say, "Now we're going to go help you too," you know. And it's a human nature thing of like us versus them, and if you win, I lose,
right? Yeah. Which that's what we need to take away, right?
That's in the mold that we're trying to break.
And as a member of WOCAN, like, I always hashtag every photo I post, anything that's car related, with WOCAN, and I've had women of non-color be like, "Well, what is that, and why? And why do you feel like you need a special club?" I'm like, I don't. It's not a special club.
Like, the thing is, it already is a club.
Yeah, I'm like, it's just, this is what
there is already a male association in the automotive industry.
I'm like, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm caramel. I am a woman of color, okay? By the way, if you make coffee that's a little sweet with a caramel,
She did it again.
I did it again. And then I'll tell you what you guys know what fika means, right? Fika in Swedish. So in Sweden, coffee is a huge component in people coming together. Okay. So they have something called fika, which is a moment where you have coffee with your coworker or your friend, and you take 20 minutes to kind of just converse about the day and how are things. And
the more you know.
Over coffee.
I love this. And then you actually like share and get to know people.
And it's mandatory in a lot of places.
That is the cure. I think that is a cure to the diversity problem.
Yes, connection.
If everybody had a friend that was different than them, and I'm talking about a friend, like someone you actually know, you break bread with, that you hang with outside of work, or like the automotive industry would be a better place. You'll get understanding, because I have friends that are white men, that are white women. They can come to me and ask me a stupid or ignorant question anytime.
And they won't be judged.
And I'm not going to hit them. And I'm not going to be mad, because we have developed such relation that I'm okay. I love them so much that I'm willing to educate and teach them.
Right.
But so I'm just,
thank you for
please
that.
do not go and do that with anybody who is not your friend.
Yeah.
And do not go and ask the next Black woman that you see, can you be my friend? Like, it has to be real.
Yes, it has to be real. And because it's really not your responsibility to educate me anymore.
But
there's enough out there.
Like I have to.
But I mean, that's cool with the relationship, right? And I think that we need to understand it's not your responsibility to educate me. There's a lot of resources out there. There are a lot of resources. Yeah. I'll go with you.
I'm with you, Kerri, because if you do have a friend that you do have that conversation with, right? It is important that, again, not just anybody pours into your life, right? Not just any coffee is going in my cup. Okay, it's got to be of a certain quality. The same thing with my friends. The same things with those that I receive from. Right. If I'm going to be put on the heat, well, something good needs to come out of it. But when you do have those people that are going to say something that maybe is going to conflict with you, and also loves you enough to tell you what you don't know yet.
Yes.
That is the thing that we do need our friends for, because they need to be able to say, hey, listen, I'm going to say this, and this is probably really stupid, but I'm afraid to say this to anybody else that doesn't love me.
Yes.
Because stupid things come out of people's mouths that we love.
And
Right? And we love them still. That's actually, I believe, more of the expression of the love, because it's like, dang,
You accept it.
wow, I love you.
I
It's
know
also-
of no other group
And
with
it's-
more love than Black women and African American women.
Really?
No. Absolutely, yes. I have stepped in it.
I co-sign on that. Yep.
I have stepped in it, right? Was gently and kindly told, you're out of line, right? And as a white woman, I'm gonna step in it sometimes. I'm gonna make a mistake. You know, I went to a white woman who knew more than me, talked about it, because you know what? I felt defensive and I knew I had something to learn. As soon as that came up, I was like, well, not as soon as. I felt defensive. It's and then I was like, okay, talk to somebody. And then I went back and I made a real amend. I made an apology, which was accepted with love and grace. You know,
Yes.
I'm telling
That's
you.
the power of love.
Because sometimes the offense, you could offend somebody and you think that it's very mild.
Mhm.
You didn't have bad intentions. But what you have to remember, though, is that woman or that person of color has had somebody poke you
Yes. Oh
at
my
the
God.
same
Yes.
spot. I'm just going to continue
How?
to do this.
Yes.
Okay? You're not going to get mad at me. But the thousandth time I do it, 1,000 times, that might be the one time that you snapped.
Yeah.
And then you're the angry Black woman.
And then you're
Right.
angry. And so I think you might literally trigger somebody only because there's been 1,000 people before them that
Right.
have said that comment.
Right. So true.
That have asked them, is your husband the GM when you're the GM, which we see all the time, right? Our last speaker
Mhm.
is an owner of a dealership, and nobody ever thinks she's the owner. They always think it's her husband, and she's a Black woman, right? So, like, imagine that someone says that, she goes off on that the 100th time.
But
All right.
here's the difference. If that person that she went off on came back to her and was like, hey, man, I'm really sorry this happened, she would be like, it's okay. All right, let's talk about it.
Right.
Okay, because I am very guilty of, and you guys know this personally, of me just like, I'm just going to redo your rights. I don't care. Call your mama, go in the fetal position. It is what it is. But when
Yeah,
someone,
you tag her.
You
a
go
fight.
in
If
hard,
you want-
yeah.
If you're going in a fight, you tag Mabel.
You
in.
want,
That's okay.
you want
I
my
was
best.
I take off my
A tu lado.
earrings. I'm like, all right, this is what we're going to do.
Here we go.
But if the person comes to me and is like, you know what, I'm sorry I crossed that boundary. I'm sorry I offended you. I listen because I like to listen. All right. And I can't preach listening if I'm not going to listen to you. So if
Right.
you come to me and you're like, listen, I'm sorry that I said XYZ, but this is why I said it. I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to understand where you're coming from. And maybe you're teaching me something. That maybe I shouldn't be so hot-headed, or maybe I should understand where you're coming from, that you've never
Love that.
experienced
It's amazing.
something, and that's why you're asking me.
Oh,
You're asking me the wrong way,
I love it.
and it's okay. But now we're learning.
Yes.
Right.
And Sandy has, how many phone conversations have we
We've had
had?
a lot of talks.
Many phone conversations where I'm just like, I'm gonna bust someone's head open. I'm gonna fly to wherever they live. And it's like, you gotta know your friends. That whole circle of friends. Yes, it's absolutely true.
Yes.
But yeah, I listen to people when they've
awesome.
offended me, because how am I supposed to learn? How am I supposed to show them compassion and empathy if I don't have it for them?
Wow.
I love this listening thing. I'm gonna say, well, my daughter was in a clubhouse with her,
Mhm.
and it was obviously not a car business clubhouse, but it was things came up
Mhm.
about race, and someone said, "But can't we all just be people? Can't we all just be right? A white woman." My daughter said something because she was up on the stage, and she said something that really you made me think about it. Talking about listening.
Yeah.
She said, well, if it's true that we're all giving each other equal personship, right? If we're why can't we listen when someone is talking about their experience,
And understand where they're
In
coming
life.
from. Yeah.
right? Like give them that honor and that grace to hear them. It's
because it unlocks a door that you didn't even know you were able to go through in understanding. And that's my people perish because of a lack of knowledge. We do not achieve the great things in ourselves usually because we don't know how to do it, that we're capable of doing it, or which way to go do it, right? So when we have our friends that tell us the truth, We have our friends that help us forgive, focus, fly, which we're going to do here in a minute, right? As we do those things, it helps us to bring into focus more of what it is that we're wanting to accomplish, as they're free enough to be them. We're free enough to be us, and we can all go where we're supposed to go. And we get into a unison, we get into a rhythm, right? When that's what I love about a band. I love all the correlations of all of these mixtures of different, like specifically different things. The guitar is the guitar, and the piano is the piano, and each is going to play its part, but we can play it together, and it's going to be beautiful music when we do so, right? And where you all are right now is at a key time for everything. Like, I mean, this is like the Jackie Robinson stuff, right? Where we're really breaking down doors. You all, for years and years and years to come, are going to see the legacy that you're laying out right now, the content we create right now, the events that are recorded here on the stage. These are the firsts of the manys that will be in the future, which in the future will be the regular, and them saying, I can't believe it was like that. And we're like, no, watch Car Guy Coffee podcast. Yeah. That's how it was.
That's how it was. You know, and I love this, you know, this whole conversation, really, one word that keeps coming back is listen.
Yes.
You know, and I think that we keep going back to that as human beings, as people, as we look at each other and as we talk about our struggles, our problems, and we all have them. Ooh. And we all have problems. They're trying to shut it down on us. We all have the problems. We all have issues. But the key in life is to listen to people and to understand them.
Once again.
And I appreciate you ladies for spending this evening with us, having this time with us, and sharing the way you did. And I'm so glad I got to sit here and listen. I really did. It was an amazing experience for me.
Thank you for having me.
You three are amazing, and I look forward to seeing 5 years from now how far you go. And there's no doubt in my mind it's going to be long.
Yes, jump on WOCAN.
Yes,
can I join WOCAN?
Yes.
Do the website.
Can I do a little website promo? So
sure,
WOC, that's Women of Color, WOCAutonetwork.com. WOCAutonetwork.com. And you can join, whether you're a woman of color or an ally, a man, a white woman. We want everybody.
Yes, you will see the ally button.
WOC and then autonetwork.com. And
oh man, we have a whole bunch of people
join.
Oh, have people been talking?
I saw Matt Jones say something.
Got some people before we head
Hi,
out.
Matt.
Facebook user, we appreciate and love you. We can't tell who it is that you are yet, but you all are incredible. They said, hey, I know those guys. Look at all those phenomenal ladies.
Jennifer. Yeah, I'm reading it now.
Some of all of my favorite people.
Oh, Demetrius.
Was that Demetrius?
Yep.
Awesome. Let me see Eric Hall saying, great crew, great message. We 100% agree. They are 100% Car Guy Coffee approved. We're going to stamp them here in a moment. Thank you so much. Jimmy Socks, love you, brother. That's one of our best friends and brothers.
Best friends. He's a brother of color. He actually took my position at the dealership I was at. I cried when he got the job because I was so excited.
Awesome.
He's one of the nicest guys. I've known, he's been a good friend of mine for 18 years.
Yes.
And just to see him come up, his whole life's about to change. So I love you, Jimmy, man. Good luck. I hope you're doing well out there.
I encourage every dealership to intentionally hire women of color.
Yes.
And if you need some help, reach out to us.
Let's do it.
We have a network. I understand, like, you don't have to do it on your own. We'll help you find good people, and we will change your dealership.
No doubt.
Come on.
We will help you engage with people that you will not be able to engage with. And I just want to remind everybody, 30% of customers are minority or multicultural.
Yep.
And $200 billion are spent by women. Women of color check the box on both of those audiences.
Can I tell you, I had a couple that walked in a few weeks ago, and they saw one of my coworkers, and they went to her because she's right at the front desk, and they're talking, and the husband was looking around, and he's like, hey, are you a salesperson? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, come on, let's go. And I'm like, what's going on? And he sat on my desk, and he's like, I'm sorry, we just rather deal with someone that's of color because you understand where we're coming from. So it's either you or that guy over there. Is he black and Hispanic? I'm like, he's Hispanic. He's like, yeah, we'll sit with you. And he was like, we'd rather deal with our own. I felt weird, right? Because I was like, whoa, because my coworker took offense to it. And I did, after they left, I sat down with her and I was like, listen, you just experienced that. And it was your first time, I'm sure. Maybe, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, do you know how many times I'm told I want to talk to a man because a man knows more about cars?
It happens every single day.
Meanwhile, I could sit in the car, turn it on, and tell you what's wrong with it, right?
Beyond what a man can.
Yeah, or how many times I've been told, like, I'd rather deal with someone else, and I know it's because of my skin tone. So I told her, I'm like, I know you feel offense to it, but I go through this on I go through this a lot, not on a daily basis anymore, but I've gone through this a lot. So I understand your frustration, your pain, your distraught. I get it. But this is what I've gone through at a worse level. Because sometimes they're not so polite. They say it in your face. And you have to keep your decorum, your professionalism, and just smile and be like, okay, sir, let me escort you to someone that's going to help. Meanwhile, you're like, I'm going to punch you in the throat.
Right.
But you can't. You know, that's when I call you. HR help.
I mean, that just shows like there's opportunities when you have a diverse staff that matches up to your community.
Right.
I'm not asking you if you're in a place that it's 90% white. I'm not asking you to have 50% people of color. That makes no sense, right? But if you're in a market that is diverse, if you're in a market that has women of color, you probably should have them on your staff. And I'm talking about customer-facing staff.
It's easy to do.
The customers already have you marked.
Yeah,
they already know what your dealership's like and whether they have have presence representing them there or not.
Right. And
so
people
don't be
pay
fooled. They
attention.
know.
And
symbols.
It's the first thing that I've always said since for a long time. Figure out where you are. Not that hard to do. You have your demographics. It's in your DMS. I'm sure it's there.
Yeah.
Look it up and find out the diversity in your community and the community in which you operate and see how they match. And it does not count if all of your people of color are in the car wash and all of your women are in accounting.
Yeah.
Oh.
Doesn't count.
Whoa.
And
Bingo.
And I know you guys want to end this, but like be intentional about it. And that's the thing. And I think people are afraid to kind of be intentional. We had a dealership that reached out to us, WOCAN. They wanted a Black woman. They were looking for a Black woman as a GM. They asked us and said, we need help, right? So like, that's okay to be intentional. And because think about, I use a Major League Baseball as my example because I work with a bunch of car guys and they like sports. But think about it. When they recruit Major League Baseball players, they have development leagues in every single country, including third world countries. They'll be in Dominican, and Cuba. And why are they doing that? They know that there's a 7-year-old kid right now in the Dominican Republic that's going to be the biggest superstar in Major League Baseball. Yeah. And if they keep their recruiting strategy just to the United States, they will miss out on him. And that's what's happening today in car dealerships around the world, is that they're just thinking about their pool of people and missing out on opportunity that's going to make them more relevant and prepared for a future where the population actually is going to be more minority than it is today.
That is
you know what? I want to say something in Spanish because si usted es una mujer que está trabajando en un dealership, por favor, vaya a, what is it, WOC, Auto Network, porque necesitamos muchas mujeres que están en este trabajo y están ayudando a la gente. Necesitamos que ustedes vengan con nosotros.
We got something for everyone.
I love that she just said that, and you perfectly lobbed this up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for putting that on there for us.
Yes.
All. The question that I have, because we didn't get the chance to ask you, Kerri, a question, right? We have a great conversation, didn't get the chance to ask you a question yet. So I want you to help launch this off, because as we're dialing into remembering that it's important that we listen. So I want to make sure that those that are going to listen, those young women that are going to face the challenges that you spoke of, and we pray that they never do, right? We pray they never have to see that door shut in their face like you've experienced. We never want that for somebody. We want them to believe that limit isn't even there. So what would you say to them about the hopefulness there is to coming into this industry now that you all are breaking down these walls?
Okay, I want to just emphasize that the differences in you are actually your competitive strength relative to everybody else. And you have to use those differences. See, when I'm in a meeting and I am the only person of color and I'm the only woman all the time, right, at a leadership level, I think about the guys in the room and I go, God, they all probably think the same. They come from the same place. I'm going to have an idea coming from somewhere different.
Yes.
They never thought about, right?
I love that.
That's a huge advantage. So I think, wow, there's a lot of sounds going on. But so I would say, sorry, I got distracted. But I would say just like lean into your power of your differences and use that to your advantage. And the only other thing I would say is just do the things that others won't do. I work harder than most, but more importantly, I'm willing to take risks and that will help you no matter who you are. Really,
I was actually thinking the same thing. Those are tips for everyone.
everybody.
Yes.
Every person out there
Yes.
just trying to become the best version of themselves, and it takes work. You have to work no matter how much and how perfect you think you are, there's always room for improvement. And absolutely love this conversation tonight. I'm just like
magic. This
is my favorite episode we've ever recorded. I know I've said that before.
All
right,
but
it's on record.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch
But
every other
the
episode
brew
after.
keeps
Make
getting
sure you
better,
say
ladies.
that.
Again.
This has been amazing just to have this conversation. Lou has 2 daughters and they're both women of color, and they're both beautiful young ladies that have a beautiful future, raised by amazing parents, different cultures, different races. And just to see how they were raised and with love through him, and with his father, and to have ladies like you to be able to speak down and show them that you can be something, you can come into an industry like this and really stand out because you are different. And the more different and diversity we have in this business, the better it's going to be. But that's the same thing in life, folks. It's not just the automotive industry. It's diversity in life. It's diversity in your communities, diversity in your friends.
Yeah.
Don't go out, like she said, don't go out there and say, hey, you find the first Black woman you see and say, hey, will you be my friend? Really make friends with people, really love people, hear their story. And once again, listen. If you're not listening, you're just really not doing what you need to do right now in this world. We all need to listen more. We all need to shut up and just listen to what they have to say and take it in. Whether you agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. Listen. It's the best thing you can do.
Come on. Love it. Love it.
Love it.
Car guys, car gals, thank you so much for joining us for this evening and for this podcast, however it is that you're listening to it. Make sure that you keep checking us out on carguycoffee.com. We have this incredible crew that is going to continue to brew solutions here at the conference, but they have blessed us inside of the cafe, and we cannot say thank you enough. I am enlightened by this conversation. I'm better for knowing you ladies before we brewed together, but it's even better now that we actually had the chance to roast y'all and have a great time. I was waiting. That's right. No, but I'm so excited to do that. But there is one thing that we do, and we want to make sure that everybody always remembers, so that they can keep growing in the biggest room in the world, the room for improvement. And that's to forgive, focus, and fly. So let's get ready to forgive, focus, and fly together as we get ready to say goodnight on this incredible Wednesday at the Digital Dealer Conference. Car guys and car gals, man, I am so honored. I'm still not even believing that we just
Or, as Sandy mentioned earlier, car people. Get ready for this.
Get ready. Here we go. On 3, go ahead and put your hands on your shoulders. Let's wipe off the weight of unforgiveness. Focus on where it is that we're going and fly so we can keep growing. 1, 2, 3, forgive.
Focus, fly, and keep growing. Keep growing, man.
Thank you so much for joining us today, ladies.
Wow, what
I am Lou Ramirez, the car guy.
And I'm Fred Lenartz, the subprime hero.
And you have been brewing solutions with WOCAN.
That's right. What a great show, folks. Thank you all for tuning in.
Joining everybody that watched.
Make sure you share this out.
Wait, what are we doing now?
Oh, get that. Go ahead, get that. We feel like we're chasing waterfalls.